All right, how's it going? So today we're going to talk about my adventure kit. So I do a lot of backpacking, camping, some traveling, not a lot of huge overseas trips. This year I was able to do Italy. I don't foresee any huge trips like that. Probably not for a couple years. I think we're going to do Japan in a couple years. But anyways, either way, one of my favorite things to do is to shoot photos and video out in the wilderness. So I thought I'd just share my kit that I use that works for me. It's 2 camera setup. So I will take my trusty, sometimes if it's just like a trip that I think, sometimes this will be the only camera I take, depending on where we're going and what we're going to be up to. But my workhorse is this little Canon G7X Mark II. I'm partial to the way it looks. There's a couple reasons why I use this over my ZV-1 for adventure. And I guess I'll go over those. Because the Sonys right now, their point and shoots, I think they're killing it. I love the way the video looks in my ZV-1. The photos are pretty good. I think this look is a little bit better for photos, but that thing takes really good photos too. This is long in the tooth. This thing's been around for a long time. I think Canon's got a new camera out that I may be looking at. I don't like the G7X Mark III, but the new one may be a winner. But for now, let's just talk about what I actually use and why I like using it and why you may want to look for a camera that has similar features. First, I liked it in auto mode. I mainly, with this camera, I shoot auto. I shoot raw in photo, but I do shoot in auto because I can capture candid moments of my group or friends or family really quickly. When I see the moment approach, I just pull this thing out, turns on really quickly just like that, and I can either take a photo or I can capture a little bit of video. I always shoot low like this so that I'm not up high and it's really obvious that I'm shooting, because to get the most candid moments, I usually, once I pull that camera out, that's over. Everybody changes, they get weird once the camera comes out. So I always like to shoot low. I'll pull it out, I'll take it like this, and I'll shoot from down here. I do like that about this camera. Also, probably one of the key features that has kept me working with this camera instead of the Sony is the flash. I can throw this in manual mode. I usually use this when there's a sunset in the background, and if you start shooting with this with somebody with a sunset and you don't have a flash, their faces are going to be dark. You're going to have a great background, or you're going to blow out the sunset and their face is going to be exposed. With the flash, you can get the sunset and get their faces exposed, and it comes out for some really beautiful shots. So that's what this is. This is my my go-to. It's a little bit stuck. I might be getting an upgrade here in the next year or so, but I still like the way this shoots and looks. It's like I said, it's long in the tooth, but I'm still pretty okay with that, with the look of this camera. The other camera that I use, or this setup, is a Lumix GH5. These are both really old cameras. I don't upgrade my cameras all the time. They're a lot of money. I don't make a lot of money or really much money at all with my cameras, like as a professional shooter or anything like that. So it doesn't make sense for me to always be buying a $2,000, $3,000 camera. My cameras tend to work just fine. If I still like the way they look, then I use them. For work, we use old cameras too, but I don't really get paid like a photographer to do like the podcast. That's just part of what I do. So that being said, I have this GH5 for a while. I wanted a camera that had a smaller lens because I'm backpacking and I'll have this thing attached to my shoulders, and I've got to carry this 6-8 miles a day plus my food and my pack, and probably about 35 to 45 pounds on my back, and that's without camera gear, right? So this isn't the lightest camera, but it's super heavy duty. I looked at the Fujifilm cameras. I was looking at X-T5. I do like APS-C cameras. I think I like that vintage look. But the Fuji felt really plasticky. I mean, after you've held a GH5 in your hands and this nice chunky, this thing's tough. It's built well, and it's made to shoot, below freezing. It's splash proof. It's not waterproof, but it's splash proof, dust proof. And I needed something rugged. I've had somebody in my group didn't realize my camera was attached to my backpack, grabbed my backpack, threw it, this thing flew off, got banged all around, and it still works. Now, I've had to have some things repaired, the little wheels here. I needed to repair. Cost me $400 to buy a, that's another conversation, right? Because to buy a GH5 these days is about $500 all in, probably get a lens with it. For me, I know this camera, I didn't want to buy a used camera and just replace it, so I blew the $400 and got it repaired just because I know the ins and outs. I know how this camera's been treated. I didn't want to start over with somebody else's camera not knowing how they treated the camera because they are old. So I like the GH5. Like I said, it's chunky. More importantly, it's a micro 4/3 sensor. And the advantage of that for me backpacking is this small lens. This is a 12 to 35 lens. This is the one that I take with me. I don't usually I take that back. If I'm backpacking, I don't usually take another lens with me. If I'm traveling and I don't have a massive backpack, I will take a 35 millimeter f1.8. And I do that because if I'm in a church or indoors somewhere, I like the 35 to be able to capture all of the, capture the scene. And I can also drop the f-stop and get enough light so that the shots aren't that grainy. This is an f2.8. For being outside in an adventure scenario, I don't need super low light capabilities. That's not really what I shoot. So this works perfectly. I always have a variable ND attached to this. This is a Tiffen ND. As you can see, it's always on there because usually where I'm at, the light's really bright. So that's pretty much ready to this. Sometimes I'll have to pull it off. I just throw it in my pocket. This thing gets pretty banged up, and I shoot with this. I think this camera is highly underrated. I think for $1,300 you can get the GH5, which I looked at, Mark II. I like the smaller body than the GH7, although I am considering the GH7, but it's only $2,200. That's another video in cost considerations. But for now, this works amazing. It is a little bit heavy, but I needed something heavy duty when I'm traveling, and it's going to get banged around. I have a full frame camera. A lot of people wonder why I don't use that. It's just too huge. I find that when I want a camera that I can grab really quickly, it fits. Like I throw this thing in a backpack. I don't even use like a camera bag. When I go traveling, I was just in Italy. I didn't have a Peak Design backpack that screams photographer. I have this. I use this lens cover because it's rubber and it's not going to pop off. I just throw this thing on right here like that. Throw it in my backpack. It gets banged around, and it's amazing. I cover the hot shoe with this little guy here, just so if it gets sprinkles or something like that. I mean, and I just take this thing out. I mean, I have abused this in the rain, and I did find that it fogged up. I threw it in a bag of rice, and it was fine. So it's not waterproof. I know a lot of people have said that they think that it is or that they've had good experience. I put it to the test, and I think water got into these microphones or something. It was salvageable, but that's my kit. I used the 12-35. This is equivalent to a 24-70, as everybody knows with these cameras. Image stabilization's amazing. Downfall on this is the autofocus. I use the autofocus, especially for photos. I think the autofocus for photos is good. Is it outstanding? Not by any means. For video, I do use the autofocus. Yes, it does breathe. If you're familiar with this, if you start really working with this on the autofocus, it's got like a little joystick back here, and that will allow you to tune in. At some point, I got to show you what that looks like with a little recorder. It'll allow you to tighten up where you actually want the autofocus to focus. And then you can actually lock in the autofocus. So I don't know if people know that or not, so that it won't breathe, right? I think a lot of people that are really disappointed with the autofocus in this are just, well, there's so many great autofocus cameras now that you don't have to actually know how to use the autofocus tools. And that's why I think that's probably why Panasonic may have delayed working on their autofocus technology is because when you learn how to use this camera and use the autofocus tools, a lot of the things that people complain about aren't really that big of an issue. So yes, you can shoot manual focus. I tend to use the autofocus, tend to use the joystick, and then I will narrow down the area of autofocus, and then I will lock that focus in. That's how I use it. Sometimes I'll switch to manual focus, just depending on where I'm at. Sometimes I find it a little bit difficult to be able to get the autofocus when I'm running and gunning. So I count on it. I'm not getting paid for it, so it doesn't matter to me sometimes if it's not absolutely perfect. I do set the I set this up so that when I'm looking through it, it's in black and white, so that if I do shoot in manual focus, the peaking will stand out a lot. That makes a big difference. So that's my kit. I love this thing. I think down the line, if I upgrade, I might be looking at the new Canon point and shoot. Seriously considering the GH7. I've considered Fuji. Looked at Canon. Canon doesn't have enough as far as APS-C sensors. Canon right now, I don't think has enough APS-C lenses that I'm interested in. Also, their bodies for the APS-C lineup are a little bit. They're just not very solid. Whereas these GH series cameras are tanks, and they're, when I'm out somewhere where I know my camera's going to get banged up, I want something that is incredibly durable. And this little bad boy takes a licking and keeps on ticking. So that's it. That's my adventure setup. I do use one of the Peak Design clips on my backpack. I could show that another time. I'll usually carry this off on the belt or in a little butt pack. But that's it. I think in another video we'll maybe go over micro four thirds, just because the truth of the matter is I was never enamored with micro four thirds. I always wanted the full frame. I always like the Super 35. But what I did find is that I always grab my micro four thirds. I shoot with this all the time, and I think it has a lot to do with I think the size and quality ratio is very good, meaning that I get a very good quality image, even with photos from this, and giving up some size, right? So it's a more compact package, and I can get some really good photos. If you're worried about the blurry background for this one, I will push it out to 35 to compress everything, throw it to 2.8, and I will use the variable ND, and that usually gives me a pretty nice portrait level blurry background. I can show you those another time. That's a whole nother video, so sorry about that. We're talking about adventure kits. Call it a day. Thanks a lot. Take it easy. Cheers.